Welcome back, class. I will be your instructor today, Bear of BearIndependent.com, the Oso Independiente. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Today, we're going to talk about prepping. WTF, bro. What is it? What is it and why? Lots of new people are coming to preparedness, and it can be extremely overwhelming, and we are at a point now where there is so much information on the internet that it is near impossible to tell the difference between good info and bad info when you're brand new to something. You don't know, you don't have a frame of reference. So I'm hoping that this video can be a blessing to somebody, and please, if you find it useful, consider subscribing, ringing the little bell icon, leave me a comment down below. All of those things help us in the YouTube algorithm, and share this with people who are new to preparedness. So prepping, what is it? Let's come over here to the whiteboard, which is where I do most of my best work. Let's get us a little, how about a blue? Agua. No, that's water. Aqua. El Bluo, I believe is the Spanish. El Bluo, right? I see you, Ramon. I see you laughing. All right. What is prepping? Prepping equals physical insurance stockpiled against potential chaos plus training and mindset. Okay. Our working definition of prepping or preparedness for all intents and purposes going forward. Understanding that I'm a human being, I am imperfect, and this is likely an imperfect definition, but for the vast majority of scenarios and the vast majority of people, this is an accurate and applicable definition. Prepping is physical insurance stockpiled against potential chaos and training and mindset. Okay? So if we looked at it here, if we did one of these things, okay, so over here we have stuff, we have mindset, and we have training. And this here, in the overlap, this is prepping. Okay? You'll see that? So, as always, I would encourage you guys, if you want, you can literally take notes. I think notes are good. You can literally take notes. Write all this down. Okay, so let's go over here. Chaos. What chaos? Okay, so we have things that we can stockpile against. We have food shortage. I've said before and I'll say again, I believe the United States comes a little bit closer to a let them eat cake moment every day. Okay, so we have food shortage, we have political / unrest. Okay, so this is going to be your left versus right, your conservative versus liberal, your blue versus red, your split the country into Hegelian dialectic, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, Hegelian dialectic. Look that up. And then what else could we have here? So we have food shortage, we have political unrest. How about economic? Economic collapse or weakening. Okay, so all this is chaos. When I say chaos, that is a dog whistle towards these kinds of things. Okay? Food shortage, political unrest, economic collapse, or an economic weakening. Okay? So this chaos is this. So we are taking physical insurance and we are stockpiling against this. Okay, so let's come over here to this board. So if we stockpiling against chaos, what are we stockpiling? Well, food shortage, we would stockpile food and water and fuel to cook and but implements, etc. Okay? How about political unrest? This is going to be your self-defense. Oh, almost got British there for a minute. Okay, so this is going to be your self-defense, and so this would be things like firearms, armor, ammo, medical. Wow, that is a jacked up M. Do you even write, bro? Medical, sanitation, because the best way to treat a medical issue is to not have a medical in the first place, which is going to be proper training, but also proper sanitation. Simply washing your hands. Yeah, all that stuff. And then economic collapse. Economic collapse. So economic collapse, these three things, again, are all not only likely, but overdue. But additionally, they all play into each other because economic collapse can be predicated on food shortage because the United States is a huge food exporter. Political unrest could be because there's no food and we have a weakening of the economy. Right? These things all play together, so there's actually a lot of overlap here. So an economic collapse is going to look like food plus security plus self-sustainment. And these are all broad guidelines, okay? So this is just a primer on what is preparedness, what is prepping, and what are we prepping towards. So if we come again over here to our working thesis, our definition, prepping is physical insurance stockpiled against potential chaos. We've identified what the chaos is going to be. Says me, likely, this is the most likely. Yes, it's entirely possible that the Pleiadians land in your backyard and that they herd you all into a Walmart 5G FEMA camp. That's it. It's possible. I don't know how plausible, how likely is it to happen. I'm going to say pretty low. All of these things are pretty high. Food shortage right now. There are bare shelves in stores across the country right now. Not bare, but balding. We'll say they're balding shelves, okay? Political unrest, need I say more? Antifa, anyone? The Proud Boys? Economic collapse. 3 words, student loan debt, okay? These things are all highly likely. Now, we could also add to this, and this is something that really should be discussed much more often than it's not. This would be weather extremes. Okay. Weather extremes are something that is a when they happen, not an if they happen. There will be tornadoes, there will be flooding, there will be hurricanes, there will be forest fires, there will be earthquakes. this will happen. The vast majority of Americans and people around the world are affected by these things at some point in their life. House fires, these things happen, okay? And now we can also, and we should also add over here, injury, job loss, and catastrophic disease. Okay, these are also whens, not if, but whens. People get hurt, can't work for 6 months, 2 years, whatever. Job loss. Remember this whole economic collapse thing? Truck drivers, #1 job in the United States right now until Elon Musk revolutionizes that industry as well. And then what? Job loss. Catastrophic disease. How many people here know somebody or have been somebody diagnosed with cancer? Okay, see, now we get to this. If your house catches fire, but you have food and a lot of it, okay, no big deal. If you get laid off, but you have food and you are in a self-sustaining environment like a homestead, whether it's a rural homestead or an urban homestead or whatever, okay? If you have some type of catastrophic disease, but your needs have been taken care of, you could take a year off of buying groceries. Good, that allows you to afford chemo or whatever. Now, these are not things that we like to think about, but these are things that we should be thinking about. So I hope by this point you've got all this stuff copied down. I'll go over here one more time. You can pause the video, copy this stuff down, okay? And then pause the video here, copy this stuff down, okay? So the first part of it, or the first component of it, is a stockpiling of resources, okay? Physical insurance stockpiled against potential chaos. So let's take this off of here. We'll leave the rest of that out. We need an eraser song. Eraser song. Okay, now, for all my lovely noobs, our brand newbies, okay, the next portion is training. What are we training? And the cool thing is, there's not a perfect answer to any of this because so much of it is situational for who you are and what situation you find yourself in. Okay, what your unique circumstances are. However, there are some overarching themes that we should address. So, training, come down here. Medical. Everything from Band-Aids to bullet wounds, okay? As much as you can, learn that stuff. You are the first responder. You may be the trauma doc today, okay? So medical, for real. As much as you can learn it. Food storage. That's not just putting beans and rice in buckets, but that's also pressure canning meat that you butchered yourself, or smoking, or salting, or brining pickles, or canning zucchini, or green beans, or how to braid onions and garlic and hang them so that they dry, or sun drying tomatoes, or whatever. Making jams and preserves and all that. So all of that is food storage. And by the way, don't get overwhelmed, okay? It's great to start this as a hobby, and it's great that you have an interest in this, and that's a wonderful place to start. But you'll find, if you have a real calling to this, that it becomes more of a lifestyle. And so you'll find that there are lanes that you like to stay in. I like, for me, I spend a little bit of time in the tactical lane. I obviously spend some time in the instructing lane. I spend a lot of time in the homesteading lane, okay? So food production, Okay, so this is food storage, and then we have food production, agriculture. Okay? This is really important because sooner or later you're going to eat all the food that you stored. And you're not going to have any more food to store unless you have food that you've produced. And so whether this is growing tomatoes in a 5-gallon bucket on the patio of your duplex, or the balcony of your condo, or you have 4 bajillion acres of land, you need to start doing it now. Okay? Your survival seed vault is not going to magically turn into food. You need to start learning now. And things are different everywhere. The garden that I grew in upstate New York, I cannot grow in Texas. And the garden that I grew in Texas, I'm finding I cannot grow in eastern Oklahoma. Okay? It's different. So you need to learn, and you need to learn in situ where you are right now. Start doing. Okay? Food production matters. We have security. This is going to be all of your pew pew bang bang, super ultra tactical things. Okay? A basic tenet of mine is that everybody on the team, whether you're 85 or 15, should be able to run 2 things, a rifle and a shovel. Now, I don't want grandma running a rifle. If I have grandma running a rifle, things have gone really bad. But I would like grandma to know how to run a rifle. I also don't want grandma running a shovel. If we need grandma on the shovel, we failed somewhere else. But as core foundational concepts, these 2 branches of preparedness, everybody should be able to run a shovel and a rifle. And when I say run, I mean as a minimum be able to hit a paper plate at 50 meters repeatedly. Okay, and then you grow out from there. Okay, so that's going to be your pew pew tactical things as well as the tactics. And boy, there's a literal entire industry built around that. So where to go deeper in that is outside the scope of this video, but understand that that is a core component. It's not the only component, and there are a lot of people who will sell you that as the only component. They're wrong. If you look at tribal society, the warrior class always required some type of auxiliary to support them. Somebody to bake the bread, somebody to tend the sheep, somebody to grow the wheat, somebody to make the swords, somebody to teach the children, so forth and so on. And so the warrior class is absolutely required, but it is not the only class. So don't for a moment think that it is. Security, then you have things like commo, staying in touch, so forth and so on. But there's training aspects here so that you get from, and I also want to add for sure, just homesteading. Okay? Because homesteading incorporates all of these things. That's been my experience. But there's a training element, because to know something here, man, that's information. Knowledge is when you know it here, when you can do it with ease without thinking about it. Okay? When, oh no, there's a bad guy over there, and I don't have to think, draw, remove my cover garment, draw from the concealed, flip the safety off, present the weapon, find the front sight. I don't have to think about that. I can just, okay? That's the difference between information and knowledge. When it becomes automatic, now we're getting into knowledge. And so training allows us to do that. And that's necessary so that we can make good use of the physical insurance that we're stockpiling. Because having the things does not mean that you will survive the zombie apocalypse. Do not make the mistake of equating possession with proficiency. They're not the same thing. You need to get the things, and then you also need to train with the things. If you can't use them, you might as well not have them. Okay? So training is a core element as well. And then lastly, we'll come over here and we will work on mindset. Just give me my black maca. Go away, blue. You're too happy, blue. Let's go to mindset. So over here, can you all see? mindset. What is this? So this is mental, emotional, spiritual. Okay. So mental, I would look at things like fear setting. What is the worst thing that could happen? Well, T, the Panamanian paratroopers could land in my backyard and mow my entire family down with some type of .30 caliber machine gun, belt fed. That would be terrible. Okay. How likely is that? Pretty low. Okay. So if it's a 4 or below on a scale of 10, I'm not worried about it. If it's a 5 or above, I'll pay it some attention. If it's like an 8, okay, we need to develop plans around how to deal with this thing because that's a likely threat. But if it's not a likely threat, get it out of here. Okay, move on to the things that are likely and deal with those first. We'll pick some pet thing that Russian special forces are infiltrating the United States right now so that they can round up rural populace and put them in Walmart FEMA camps so that the government can enact continuity of government in the end times. Low probability. Next. Your house might get hit by a hurricane. Okay, let's prep for that first, and then we'll worry about the Russian special forces. Okay, so fear setting and wrapping your mind around hard things. Bad things can happen. Bad things will happen. Start deciding in your brain now, what are you going to do? Identify the worst possible things that could happen and then develop contingency plans around those things happening in your brain now. It's a mental hardening. Okay. Emotional. This is interesting. Suffering. Suffering. Stress. Suffering. Suffering is universal. Thanks, Buddha. It happens. You need to start thinking about now how you're going to deal with the hard things, how you're going to deal with suffering, and how are you going to mitigate against suffering as much as possible. And that comes back to having the physical insurance that's been stockpiled and training with it so that you can mitigate suffering as much as possible so that you don't suffer emotional stress. Okay, see how it all kind of ties together? But suffering, get comfortable being uncomfortable. So, comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay. Now, stress. Stress is a feedback mechanism. The things that you stress over are important to you. If you're stressing over losing your job, that means that maybe you need to be doing a better job. If you're stressing over your girlfriend cheating on you, maybe you should find a different girlfriend. If you're stressing over the approval of your parents, that means that maybe you and your parents need to sit down and have a conversation. Okay? Stress is a feedback mechanism. It's a biomechanical feedback mechanism. As our body and our mind interacts with the world, the things that we get stressed over point out to us that, hey, these things are causing friction. These things are potential problems. We should do something about it. So don't get caught in the feedback loop of stress, more stress, anxiety, yada, 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 yada. Identify what is stressing you and then act on it. The way that you deal with anxiety is through action. The way that you deal with stress is by doing the thing that you're stressing about. Get it over with, get it out of the way. And then that allows you to harden up all of these things. And then we come to the spiritual. I'm a Christian. You do you, but I'm a Christian. So for me, this is Messiah. Okay? And then this is understanding what is your sense of purpose. For me, it's to serve my Creator, to serve His kingdom, and to do my best every day to put a smile on His face, to the best of my ability, understanding that I'm broken. If I wasn't broken, if there wasn't an imperfection in me, I wouldn't require a Messiah in the first place. Now, I don't abuse his grace, but it's there if I need it, okay? But this spiritual, all of this works together to inform the ways that we apply the training that we have to use the things that we have stockpiled. Does that make sense? Let me repeat that. Our mindset, all of this right here, our mindset informs the ways that we employ our training, and our training allows us to make use of the physical insurance that we have stockpiled against potential chaos, which we have already identified. So understand that this is a big, broad overview of what prepping is and why. Prepping, what is it and why? Prepping, our working thesis, is it's physical insurance that is stockpiled against potential chaos, plus training, plus mindset. Okay? So, we're going to end there for this video in the Prepper Classroom. I would love your feedback down in the comments. Please share this with people who are new to preparedness or have questions about preparedness. I want to make this stuff as accessible as possible because I want to help as many people as possible. This is not weird. This is not tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. This is real life. And we have our eyes switched on and our ears switched on, and we can see what's going on outside in the world, and it gives us reason to have a little bit of angst and anxiety. But remember, we deal with anxiety through action. And so this lays out a framework within we can take action to positively affect change on target, to operate from positions of strength. So, prepping, what is it and why? Here it is in a nutshell. Thanks, guys. If you want to be here, click the little subscribe button, ring the little bell, hit me in the comments, and major shout out to our patrons. You guys are awesome. We could not do it without you. Patreon is the economic engine that supports the Bear Independent, the whole world. So our entire Bear Independent world is wrapped up in Patreon, and you guys are the bomb. So thank you. Shalom and blessings, y'all.